first I attach it on so it sticks to the wheel. Then when it's on, it's always got a wobble to it when you first slap it down.
Right.
So for it to be a perfectly even symmetrical piece, it has to be what's called running true on
Right.
the center of the wheel. So what I'm going to do is called coning.
Yep.
So I'm pushing the clay into the center of the wheel and I'm moving it up
Yep.
and down, because if I just push on it hard, it'll take way more energy. But if you have the clay moving,
Right.
then it comes on center easily.
Hmm.
So I'm utilizing the force, I'm sucked in tight, I'm pushing hard. It actually, I make it look easy, but it takes a tremendous amount of strength, right, to muscle the clay around. So once I get it so it's running perfectly true under my hand, then I'm going to slowly bring my hands off. If I bring my hand off really quickly,
Yeah.
it'll suck it and pull it off center.
Yeah.
So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my thumb down in the center,
Yeah.
and I'm going to push straight down, but I'm supporting my hands on both sides and I'm supporting the clay, and I'm going to stop about that shy of the bottom because
Very
that's
good.
going to be the base of the bowl. Then I'm going to open, and I'm supporting with this hand as I pull
Yep.
backwards and open it up,
Yep.
because you're always looking for equalization of pressure. And I always join my hands together, again to equalize the pressure. So I'm
Very
opening it up in a curve so that it has that bottom shape curve of a bowl,
Yep.
but I'm not coming past the base, because then the walls would just fall down and collapse over the base. So I have to think about that ahead of time and know what I'm going to be making and how wide the base needs to be to start with. Now the whole time I've been working really fast,
Yep.
but it's called throwing on the wheel because the centrifugal force of it spinning around throws the clay outward the thinner that it gets.
Right.
So what you have to do as you thin it down is slow the wheel down. So I'm going to go in,
Yep.
and with these fingertips and
Yep.
running with the clay, I'm going to push out and create a ridge. Then I'm going to catch these fingertips under that ridge, and I'm actually going to pull the clay up. I'm not squeezing it fingertip to fingertip, I'm actually pulling the clay, and that's what thins it. I've got my hands joined together to keep it stable, and
Right.
I've got my elbows sucked in tight to my body to keep it stable, because if you're trying to free arm it,
Yeah.
it will wiggle and wobble and you'll throw it off center. So it takes a couple of pulls to get it to the consistency. I also have to know what I'm doing before I start, because if I want it to be really rounded out,
Mhm.
then I have to leave extra clay there. If
Right.
I want the rim to be the same thickness all the way down, because I'm stretching that rim out, widening it,
Yeah.
I have to make it extra thick to start with so that when I stretch it and widen it out, it doesn't come too thin. So I really have to know before I start what I'm going to do and where I'm going to leave clay so that I can later adjust the shape and stretch things out.
Wow.
Then I'm going to take this little rubber rib and I'm
Yeah.
going to use it as a support on the outside, and I'm going to start and shape the clay.
Very good.
Plus I also like a smooth surface on my pots.
Yeah.
Some potters leave what they call throwing lines,
Mhm.
and you can see the grooves and the, you know, of the throwing. But because of my glazes and just my personal preference, I like to have a nice smooth surface.
Right.
And then I've just taken this very technical piece of dry cleaner plastic
Mhm.
and rounded it over the edge to give it a round edge, and then that way the glaze will hold nicely on it. If the edges are sharp to start with, the glaze won't hold and it'll be more fragile and more tendency to crack. Plus also, if you were as a mug, it would be sharp on your lip and it wouldn't
Right.
be comfortable to use, right? So, and I'm just adjusting a little bit in size
Yeah.
to meet my size requirements that I'm going for this piece.
Yep.
And just reevaluate the shape, and then I'm just going to take a wooden knife and I'm going to cut some of the excess clay away, and I
Right.
just set it aside so that I can recycle it later. Clean off some of the excess moisture.
Yep.
And then I have a wire
Yep.
that I just drag flat across the wheelhead bottom. Because I've taken and cleaned all that excess slip off the outside, the slippery stuff,
Yep.
and I've scraped it all off my hands,
Mhm.
it kind of creates just like a tacky surface.
Yep.
And then that way I can pick it up
Pull it
even
out.
though it's unbelievably soft, and set it off to the side without any distortion.